Good morning. Can I see a few thumbs to see if we are live already? Let me just take off the glasses and give away my age there. Alright, there we start up. Good morning guys, my name is Viljoen. I'm from Tauranga, New Zealand, in the North Island. There's two islands here. I'm a financial advisor. I do sell life covers, policies, dread disease, that type of stuff, as well as helping South Africans arriving here with their wills. For me this morning, the most important thing I need to tell you about is financial immigration. I know there's a lot of, I want to say, stories out there, and even myself was a bit under the wrong impression totally of what's going to happen with the financial immigration. If you read the South papers and stuff coming out, then that is a bit of confusion there as well. So, and yep, I see a lot of you joined up. A lot of saying morning and a lot of saying evening, and it's just after 6 o'clock in the morning, New Zealand time. It's pitch dark outside. The island has gone a bit cooler these days. We're at about between 18 to 20 degrees Celsius now. Our rain season hasn't started yet, so it's still a bit, I would say, a bit drier, but it is, at least it has gone green now. We are quite brown the last few months. Let me say from about Christmas time on. The grass just went totally brown here, very much the same that you would expect in the Free State in winter time. It's all right. Let's start off with the most important thing, the financial immigration, and thereafter I'm going to tell you about budgets and your budget for immigration. It's not set in stone, but I'm going to tell you a bit what mine was, and probably you can make your mind up around that of how much money you do need. I see a few people are complaining about the signal not being as good as it should be. Guys, this is it's a live video currently, but we'll keep it on this page, and I've already uploaded most of these videos with the help of Nicole to my to my YouTube channel as well, and I'll let you know where that is. Alright, quick. Financial immigration, that is when you take your stuff and you leave the South African Reserve Bank. Alright, you cannot lose your South African citizenship if you do this. You can still have your green passport and your black passport once you're a citizen of New Zealand as well, and you can then be totally out of the South African financial side. Current exchange controls allow you to take out about 11 million per year, with not a lot of hiccups there. Double taxation, basically it works like this. New Zealand or IRD, this side, will tell your SARS that side, and I will tell you what amount of money you made here, or what was your income this side. If you got a business or you're working for somebody, they will exchange those figures. And based on those figures, SARS will decide if they tax you or not. But there's a few things around that taxation part. They say a distinction therefore need to be made between a resident and a non-resident for tax purposes. So a non-resident won't be taxed on the income out of South Africa, while a resident will be taxed on the income in and out of South Africa, or what they call the worldwide income. So when are you a non-resident? Then let's start by defining what we mean by resident, understanding that you will know whether you meet the criteria or not, and thus whether you can be regarded as a resident or a non-resident. Now that I'm talking resident or a non-resident in South African purposes, not New Zealand, not wherever else, America, wherever else you may be, but purely in South African, as SARS, South African Revenue Services, will see you. Under South African law, there are different types of residents. For example, a residence defined by the Income Tax Act 1962 in terms of the so-called physical presence test. Remember that physical presence test? And an ordinary resident. Ordinary resident is somebody who lives every day in South Africa. Physical presence test is the other one. Physical presence test comes to the fact there's certain requirements that they must meet up to. An individual will be ordinarily resident in South Africa if South Africa is the country to which that individual will naturally or as a matter of course return after his or her wanderings. So that means if you go overseas and you go back, and where you go back as the place that you call home, if that is be South Africa or if that will be in New Zealand, that is where the physical presence test come in as ordinary residents. It could be described as that individual's usual or principal residence, or his or her real home. If an individual is not ordinarily resident in South Africa, he or she may still meet the requirements of the physical presence test. Now this is a catchy one. I'm going to say this again. If an individual is not ordinarily a resident in South Africa, he or she may still meet the requirements of the physical presence test and will be deemed to be a resident for tax purposes. So you've got your home here in Auckland, you stay in Auckland, you're happy there, but you do a few things, and that things that you do can bring you back to the fact that you are a tax resident, or deemed for tax residence or tax purposes in South Africa. Now here's the things that you can or can't do. To meet the requirements of the physical presence test, that individual must be physically present in South Africa for a period or periods exceeding, here it is now, 91 days in total during the year of assessment under consideration. Alright. So for this tax year, if you went back home and you visited the folks that side and you stayed there for 2 months, which is 60 days, you were under the 91 days. Alright, so you won't be deemed to be a resident. Then they also say 91 days in total during each of the 5 years of assessment preceding the year of assessment under consideration. This is a catchy one. So if you just moved out a year ago, you could still be under this year of assessment in the 5-year period, because you would have been staying for 4 years in South Africa and you're out only for 1 year now. And then they say also in total 915 days in total during those 5 preceding years of assessment. So if you look at the past 5 years, have you stayed in South Africa for 915 days or longer? That's just the physical presence test. If you fall into that physical presence test, you are going to be liable for tax in South Africa. Tax in South Africa means they are going to tax you of your worldwide income of anything you earn above 1 million rand. Not $1 million, 1 million rand. So that is in short the financial immigration side. If you're earning more than 1 million rand and you've just left the country, you could be taxed that side. Keep that in mind. There's a few ways and means to go around that financial immigration. But I want to tell you a few things about financial immigration as well. The second you start your financial immigration, that brings the capital gains tax into play now. Because the financial immigration triggers what they call exit charges in the forms of capital gains tax. So you would be deemed to have sold all your assets on the day before you leave. So all the money you bring over will be looked at on the capital gains tax side, and there's certain pros and cons on that as well. Just keep that in mind. You could be ending up paying a few rands to SARS the day that you leave as well. Then another thing is your retirement annuities, or the RAs as you like to call them. You can't get them out of South Africa if you do not financially immigrate. So that's just the long and the short of everything, financial immigration. So, okay, I hope I made some sense there. I hope I lightened the confusion a bit. What I am going to do is I'm going to post a blog a bit later on my one web page, but I'll share this to you guys on this page as well, so you can go and read up on what I've written. And if there's any accountants or so who doesn't agree with me or wants to give us a better explanation of this, feel free to send me a letter, an email, or whatever you want to do, and explain to me the difference that you see it, or the way that you see it, or if you know of any other way that SARS is going to tax us, please feel free to do that. Alright guys, I see there's a few questions already on the Facebook live feed. But let's quickly go back to what I promised this morning, and I know a lot of people have asked me this in the past. The big thing this morning would be, what does it cost to immigrate? Alright, what's your budget going to be, and where does the money go? So let's go a few things here. What I'm going to share with you is basically between 2016 and 2018. I have heard some of the prices has already gone up a bit. Nothing has come down, I'll be quite frank on that. Two things from my side. I'm not going to give you immigration advice. That's not what I do. I'm a financial advisor, not an immigration advisor. They've got their own difficult job to deal with, and let me be quite frank, it's quite difficult to be an immigration advisor these days in New Zealand with the backlog that there is. There's quite a big backlog after the Christchurch incident, and I'm going to call it an incident. I don't believe that it was a real terror attack. The other side, let's talk about what it's going to cost you to come to New Zealand. My figures is based on 3 people, me, the wife, and a grown-up kid. He was 21 those when we came over. The tickets cost us about 10,500 Rand. So all the figures I'm going to give you is in rands. The 10,500 Rand. I just want to get back to this one question. Linky Potgieter is saying, can you start the financial immigration process before you leave South Africa? No, you can't. You can fill in all the paperwork, but you've got to be out of the country before you can financially immigrate. Otherwise, you're still, it's like you're telling SARS, I'm not going to pay tax anymore, but I still want to stay here. Okay, that's just one small thing. Let's go back to the tickets. The tickets, I paid at that stage about 10,500 Rand each. I've just done a test the other day, and they're about 15,000 Rand per person coming over here. And that's a full immigration type of ticket that you get. You get about 40 kgs of luggage with that. And Patty B, our resident travel broker, she would be the right person to talk to about that. So get hold of her. She'll give you very good quotes on that. The other side is a container or not. This is a bit of a contingency between people. Some say leave everything, bring your suitcases. Others say bring everything. And I'm one of those people who said bring everything. And today, I actually think we should have brought more. Not this way or that way. Before I left, I replaced all my white stuff, all the stuff that the wife normally uses, like the toasters and the kettles, and I bought myself a very nice coffee machine. And she wanted a Kenwood chef. Presumably she's still going to use that and make a lot of cake for me. But all those type of stuff we bought new. We brought that over. We didn't bring 10 of each. We just brought 1 of each. And then on the other side, once we were here, all those things actually work here. We just had to change the plugs. I'll show you a plug now. But all this white stuff that was brought over was brand new. Our beds wasn't that old. The beds was about, I would say, about a year old. Probably the wife will have a different opinion there. Then we had a brand new lounge suite or sitting room suite, very nice one with kick out legs, blah blah blah, which was quite expensive in South Africa. I brought that. I brought my televisions. I brought laptops. All my laptops I brought. I've got quite a few that I use. And I've got my big computer I brought with me, all the screens that I currently use. What else did I bring? Oh yeah, all the white stuff, the duvets and the linen. I brought all the glassware, glasses. We even bought more once we were here. But stuff is more expensive here than it was. I'm going to say that it was in South Africa. The wife was now in South Africa, and she's a different story to tell. She says it's a bit more expensive there than here now. So it's all depending on what your budget is like. But at that specific stage, we have bought a lot of the stuff. To have sold it to somebody in South Africa and come and buy this side, it would have been a massive loss. There's just no way you can go about that. So for me, I paid about $64,500 or rand. Sorry, rand. Let's get the rand thing right now this morning. Otherwise, you're going to give me a hiding. 64,500 Rand I paid for the container. I have heard that the containers has moved up to about 80,000 Rand roughly, and that's for a 20 foot. I'm not talking 40 foots. 40 foots are more expensive, and I've got no idea what they do cost. My one friend is busy bringing over a few 40-foot containers, and once he is here, I'll find out what that has cost, but he's still not here. Then the immigration lawyer, we had an immigration lawyer appointed by the company for us, but we still had to pay him. The cost was about 65,000 Rand. That was in 2017. I've heard horror stories of what immigration advisors charge people. I've heard stuff from coming out of South Africa, South African advisors charging them 300,000 Rand for a family of 3 or 4. That's absolutely, that is a heck of a lot of money. I'm not going to be frank. I mean, if I had to pay 300,000 Rand for somebody to help me get into New Zealand, that would have been difficult. I do find that the New Zealand immigration advisors here, this side, is quite cheaper. On the other side, the medical test we did was roughly about 3,500 Rand each, me, the wife, and the kid. Then I budgeted it for cars this side. I wanted to buy, myself and the wife and the son, I wanted to buy us cash cars and get that done with. So I budgeted about 100,000 Rand per car. The visas that we did was about 10,000 each. And then we did something else that we booked an Airbnb this side because I don't want to struggle without any furniture in a rented place. So we booked the Airbnb for 47 days, and that cost us 46,000 Rand. We actually asked the people of the Airbnb to get us some discount before the time, and they halved the price, so it would have been double that. But at the end of the day, we paid 46,000 Rand or $4,600 because that was a dollar expense this side. So that was the first 47 days was taken care of. Our container took 42 days in the ocean, and then it arrived here and it went through. We didn't go through the customs thing, but there's a further I think it's about $600 if it goes through the customs thing and they check your container. They come and they'll do a walkthrough and see whatever is in there, what need to be cleaned and so on. I just see somebody said that the 40-foot cost 135,000 Rand, which actually makes sense if you think about that. Then the food, if you arrive in New Zealand, you've got no food with you. Some people put some food in the container and so on. I'm glad we didn't do that because our stuff was a bit delayed, and we spent about 13 months in the warehouse of the container depot. I got to call them out, a company called Econotrans in South Africa. After a bit of a rocky start with me and their salesman, the big boss stepped in and really they gave me excellent service from there onwards and so on. Nothing in my container broke. We had one of these things that the wife put in the oven, those type of glassware windbak, as you call it in Afrikaans. I'm lacking the English this morning, but the windbak that broke. So that was basically that. The guys that packed absolutely did a brilliant job. I watched them pack. So me being a South African, didn't trust them at all, so to be quite frank about that. So I watched them do their stuff, and the televisions they had in special crates. They made crates for these. So that's a one way that you can go. Other friends came over now, and all the plates and the glasses, everything was broken. Really, it looks like somebody threw the stuff to me and not moved it. All right, let's go quickly on. For myself, I wanted some money here so that I could, if anything goes wrong, you've heard of horror stories, people working for 3 months and then getting fired and have to look for another job and so on. And I already in the past here had about 2 or 3 people contacting me saying, oh, we've got no money, we've just been fired, we need to look for something else, blah, blah, blah. So I said to myself, this is not going to happen to me. So I brought about 6 months of income with me, just for in case something like that would happen, and luckily it had never needed this. So that was just the small things, the tickets, the container, the immigration lawyer, the medical test, the car, the visas, the house. Oh yeah, renting a house here. Roughly about, I think you could tie yourself down to about $600 or 6,000 Rand per week. Now, in New Zealand, they want 4 weeks times whatever you pay per week. That as a bond. The bond gets paid not to the estate agent, somewhere where they keep the bonds, and that is available. You can move the bonds between one place to the next place. And then they want about 2 weeks up front. So you're talking roughly about 6 weeks at about $600. If you are living in Auckland or so, where rentals are much higher, then probably you'd be 6 times $800 or $1,000, whatever you're paying there. So if you take a 6 times $600, that's about 33,600 or 36,000 Rand. So we can put that in there. So that could be 36. I just want to give you a final figure at the end of the time. So if I just take the tickets, which was at a lesser price than today, the container, the immigration lawyer, medical test, 3 cars. Okay, there was 3 cars bought at 100,000 each. The visas, the rent of the bond and the upfront, the food for a month. The food we did about 10,000 rand. I think we could have done about 12,000 rand, because that you need to buy all your food from startup, because we brought no food, absolutely nothing. So from the salt onwards to the steaks we had to buy over, or to buy here this side. Then I've taken out the 6 months incomes that I brought with. I kept in the temporary accommodation through Airbnb, and that brought my total to about 600,000. That's what my immigration cost me on paper. But the joke is, that's not where it stayed. Once I was here, the wife needed, women always need more stuff. So she needed a few other things, and I needed a barbecue. That is the gas braai. We don't do the wood. You get coals here. You get safari coals here at about, I think it's about 150 rand a 4 kg bag. So it's not a very cheap exercise to put a few coals out there, but we do a lot of the gas braai thing here. And that all brought our 600,000 to more than what I want to count to. All right, let's see if we can take a few questions this morning. I want to quickly go on this side and see any questions. Our lawyer that we used was Wyan Nelson from Auckland. Unfortunately, he's not on Facebook at all. If you want his details, I'm willing to share that with you guys. Just send me a private message, guys. Quick thing about private messages: as they come in, and I'm not your friend on Facebook, they go and lie in a different folder. And sometimes it takes me a day or two before I get that folder. It's quite weird. I don't know how that works, but that's just one of those Facebook mysteries, if I can call it that way. Okay, Michelle Cornelius asked if I can do all the... What I'll do is I'll share this spreadsheet with you guys. I'll try and update it a bit and see where we are, and try and get us some better or newer prices. Let me call it newer prices. So and then I'll put the spreadsheet on here as well. It will probably go to lie under files, but I'll put a little thing on there on Facebook. I'll tell you where it is. Gareth Brown saying total immigration cost me family of 550k. Yep. Sean De Lange. He says I'm talking too fast. Sorry, Sean. I'll send you this. Arna du Plessis. Yeah, 600,000. That's for family of 3. Guys, I know people who've done it with way less. The main concern was I used my house that I sold in South Africa to fund myself coming this side. I decided that I can't come in with less. I actually brought... I cut it down to the bone and said, this is the minimum that I would need if I need to move. Probably to have 6 months of income back as a backup in the bank is not needed by anybody. If you need it, you need it. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But at the end of the day, that just gave me some peace of mind. My wife was also under the I won't say the impression, but she told me she's not coming on a work visa, because they can send us back. If she leaves her country, she's coming on her residence. And that's what took us a bit longer. We did the whole residence thing, and I'm so glad we did it that way around. So today I don't need to worry about residence and applying for residence. Residence is a bit more expensive on overall, but I think it's way worth it. So, all right, let's see if we can take a few questions here. To transfer money out of South Africa into New Zealand, you can open a New Zealand bank account from anywhere in the world. You do it online. You go to migrant banking. Migrant banking, don't look at offshore banking. It's not the right thing. You do migrant banking. You do your open your whole. It's actually about a week. We used Westpac. I'm not saying Westpac is the best. The banks here overall is very good. So we just used Westpac. They were easy. Did the whole migrant banking thing. I paid some money over in 2016 in December. The rand really went to shit again, and I paid money over to an offshore account through my bank there. Standard Bank probably wasn't the wisest move to make, because the money came back. the rand strengthened a bit, and I lost a few rands in the exchange rate, but then I had my money already changed over to dollars through Standard Bank. They were quite expensive, to be quite frank, and we just brought that from the offshore account back into New Zealand. But the rest of my money, I used a company called Encompass. They are a South African company. I am the official guy in New Zealand as well. I use them to move money for clients offshore through Sanlam, Liberty, and Old Mutual, and these bigger companies uses them to move the money. They gave me a much better rate than my South African bank. If you want me to tie you up with those guys, you just open your New Zealand bank account, get all your stuff, your SWIFT codes and everything else. Then you send me an email. My email address stays the same. It's admin@janviljoen.com, admin@janviljoen.com, and you just put saying you need help to move money offshore. What I do, I just CC them in, and they call you. They are in South Africa. They speak Afrikaans or English, anywhere that you want it. They'll help you move that money. It takes about a week. Once you paid the money over, you pay it over into I think it's an Investec account. I still got the account. I still use it from time to time. You paid into an Investec account, and then they swing it over. They do the exchange rate thing for you and put it into your Westpac account or whatever other bank you are using. I'm not putting Westpac out there as the only bank. The cost every time I bring money into New Zealand is about $30 from Westpac. They call it an offshore fee or something like that. But they also take the little cut there. But the money already, the cut that the company I use in South Africa, they get their cut on the exchange rate, and you only will pay a small fee if you are under 50,000 rand. So the fee is really small. I think it's 100 rand or something. So it's not a lot. Let's see a few questions here. How much was the barbecue? It's a good one. I actually bought a big one. I bought a 6-burner barbecue, and it's got the thing on the side that you can put the potjie kos on, and it's got a lid that you can see through. It's a glass lid. I actually walked into Bunnings one day, and these barbecues I think cost about $1,200 here, or about 12,000 rand. And they had it on at a 50% discount, so I immediately said, "Whoa, I want one." I didn't have one. That to get one. I don't know from where, but it took them about a week, and they brought me one for about $600. So probably you could buy them cheaper in South Africa. I don't really know. The problem is your fitting that the gas bottle goes onto. The same with your potjie kos, skottelskar, and those type of things. That fitting doesn't fit the New Zealand gas bottles. I know you do get a fitting here somewhere. I've never seen anyone, and so on. All right, quick question here from Frederick de Pre. Where do you put your pension fund? Guys, and this is financial advice, and I'm giving you this financial advice based on my South African company. I'm still a financial advisor in South Africa as well. If you have a pension fund, before you leave New Zealand, you've got to ask them to do the full pension fund and put all of that money into money market instruments. Okay? You got to get this right. You do not want to be in equities. You do not want to be in shares. You don't want to be in bonds. You put your stuff, everything in money market instruments. That is very much the same as if you would take your money to the bank and put it into the money market there. The growth there is about between 5 and 7%, but it's at least 5 to 7% positive growth. I've just checked the equities now. In this week, equities hasn't done good at all. If you had money in the money market for the past 5 years, you would have done better than having money on the share market. So, but that's just my opinion. That's what I would have done with that. And I'm allowed to give you that information based on my South African company. I've got to say that quite loud, because I'm not allowed to give investment advice in New Zealand. So they've got different licenses this side. Can a Section 14 pension transfer be done from South Africa? No. You cannot do a Section 14 transfer within South Africa, within companies, but you cannot do a Section 14 transfer to New Zealand. You do the transfer, they will pay out everything. Financial immigration, quick basis of everything else is they close basically everything you have. They get a permission from the Reserve Bank, from SARS, that you are going to leave permanently. And the word here is permanently. You can, if you need to go back, you can always reopen that, but the thing now is to leave permanently. So they take out all your bank accounts. You're not allowed to have any debt anymore. everything gets settled. They close all your bank accounts. They pay that in what they call a SA locked account, the site, or in South Africa, not in New Zealand. They put your money in there, and that accrues. The RAs pay out. Everything pays in there. So once that is finished, they will pay that over to New Zealand. So it's just one of those things. So if you currently need money and your money is in a locked account there in South Africa, you're not going to get that. It's just for a period of time. I've seen it takes about 8-9 months to do the financial immigration. I'm struggling to understand the houses. Some look like windy houses from outside. Looking at Wellington surrounds, is that the standard? Guys, the standard here is not built houses. You have wooden houses. I can show you. You can see there. That is as wood as you can think of. That is the way they do house building here, and that takes them about 8 months to build a house like this. I don't know why, but that's just the period they take. Is there houses that you can rent that is fully furnished? Yes, that's quite interesting. When we came in 2018, we tried to get a fully furnished rental for a short period, except Airbnb, and everything currently at that stage you can either just rent and let go. But these days I see a lot of the houses now is fully furnished, and that's for a longer period, up to a year or so. Make RAs paid up from Lucy Farrow. I hope I pronounced that right. Make your RAs just paid up. Just tell your insurance company you want to have your RAs paid up. What they do, they will charge you something, a paid up fee. It's just basically the advisor's commissions that they claw back from you. And then they stop that. They won't deduct anything more. You won't lose your RA. Your RA will lie there. Put it out in a money market instrument or a money market fund or whatever you want to call it that side, and it will still grow a bit. But at least with money market type of funds, you don't have the loss if the equities are falling again. So let's see what else can we quickly do here. Our time is running out this morning. Frederik Priya, yep. To take you, remove you from SARS, that's financial immigration. The South African team that I help with, they do that for you. Mariska. Good morning, Mariska. Retirement for annuities, we just had that. Let's see what else was there that we could see for you guys with. If you have property in South Africa, can you financially immigrate? Yes, you can. Your property has to be paid fully. You can't have a bond there still. So that's one of those things. You can't have a bond in South Africa and then repay from this side and financially immigrate. That just doesn't gel together. If your property is fully paid in South Africa and you're not going to sell it, so you have got no bond on that. I've got people that's parents and stuff live in the houses in South Africa that are fully paid off, so no problems on that. But if you get any interest from those properties, you will be taxed on that as much as possible that SARS can get out of you. So just keep that in mind. Can you draw your pension while you are in South Africa? No. You cannot draw that. You cannot use that to immigrate. You cannot, not at all. All right. Anzelta Blanche, sorry, your work to residence visa, that's an immigration question. Guys, if you've got any immigration questions and I'm not allowed to answer it, take the telephone, call Immigration New Zealand. They are very helpful. They are 24 hours a day, so don't think you could just only call them during your night. 24 hours a day, and basically your night is our day. So if you call it during your day, it's our night here, and they are quieter, so that you get a better chance of being helped quicker. But I gotta say, they are busy up. They had to do some things for me, and it was supposed to take 30 days. We're in weeks 8 already now. All right. Before I top off medical aid. Okay, medical aids in New Zealand. I have done that on a previous, but quickly let me explain to you this. There's no medical aid. You get a health cover. The medical aid is by government. Government allows you to use their facilities, and they pay for a lot of that. A doctor appointment cost about $45. I just had my nose, a terrible nosebleed, and I had to go and do the whole thing. And I did this about 3 years ago in South Africa, and I paid about 4,000 rand for this. And I paid 45 and 15. It's about $50, so 500 rand roughly. That's what I paid now. But you get the health cover. The health cover just helps you for where your government medical aid or your government medical help, let's call it that way, will take too long to get you through the system, because you fall into a queue. So if you're in a car accident, you are probably going to be number one in the queue. If you've got a heart attack, you're going to be really number one in the queue. But if you've got something like hip replacement, tonsils, that type of thing, you're going to fall at the back of the queue. Now, everybody who's got another problem that is a higher priority than you is falling in front of you. So just keep that in mind. That's where your medical health cover takes you to the front of the queue, and they help you first. So you will still be behind the guys that are in car accident and motor and had heart attacks and so on. You still just be behind them, but it can lengthen or shorten the period that you before you're getting medical help to from anything from 3 to 5 days, where you in the past would have had about 12 months. Tonsils currently in Auckland takes about 13 months. So if you've got a kid with tonsils, 13 months before they get taken out. Keep that in mind. Okay. Is there a reason to be concerned about the apparent big drug issue, depression, and high suicide rate in New Zealand? This is a very good question. I had it with somebody else within the week that came here and asked me the same question. So let me quickly go on that. The high suicide rate in New Zealand is here. This is really here, and this is New Zealanders. This is not South Africans coming here and taking themselves out. So this is a depression thing is something to do with the islanders. I don't know really. I'm not a psychologist, can't explain that to you, but that is in fact so, and that is under the Kiwis. Then let's just get this back to the question. The big drug issue, drugs is going to be everywhere. If you are a druggie, you're going to get drugs in Johannesburg. If you're a druggie, you're going to get drugs in San Francisco. If you're going to come to New Zealand, you're a druggie, you're going to get drugs here. I've never had anybody offer me anything here, to be quite frank. Let's talk about anything. I've had a lot of things already offered to me in South Africa. I mean, you can't walk 2 blocks and then you get offered something. I've never had anything, not even dacha, offered to me here. I've never seen anybody under the influence of drugs here, to be quite frank. I've seen about, in the year or more than a year that we are here now, I've seen one person drunk on the street corner. And there was one person. In the period of time that I was here now, I've never heard of any hijackings, and I follow the crime stats quite religiously. I think that's a bit of a passion of me, being an ex-policeman. So I've never heard of any hijackings. I never heard of any robberies inside people's homes, like the South African style, where they kill and maim you. And I haven't heard of any rapes. That's quite a big thing. I was actually thinking the other day of all the bad things that you normally hear about in South Africa, and I'm not going to go further into that. You don't get yet. That's just a few of those things. How much would it approximately cost to financially immigrate? The guys in South Africa charge about 15,000 rand or $1,500. That's about roughly what you're looking at. I know there's different prices out there, but that's about 15,000 rand. I think 5,000 of those must be paid to the Reserve Bank. It's a lot of hands that need to be paid in those processes. And I'm not saying you can't do it yourself, but it's a lot of work, and you've got to go into SARS, and you've got to go to the Reserve Bank and fill in all the forms correct. And if you make a mistake, you're going to stay on their radar forever. So I would rather pay the 15,000 rand and let somebody do that for me. So, all right, guys, we're running out of time this morning. I know you all want to go and watch Seven Alarm. Is that still on the TV that side? If you've taken early retirement or getting a monthly pension, how do you access that money once you can't? And Buller, this is something you got to remember, guys. If you are very near to 55 and your financial advisor in South Africa tells you to take the pension, you're going to get it in New Zealand, yes, you are going to get the pension. You will never get your money out of South Africa once you have taken a pension on that. It's just, they don't allow it. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, they just don't allow it. It's a lot to do with the fact that you got some SARS leeway while you was investing in retirement annuity. Are the costs to financially immigrate per person or per family? It's per person. Okay, I don't know if they will give you a bit of a discount if it's husband and wife. But just keep in mind the present or the present test, the physical present test that I told you about. So if you are basically a housewife in New Zealand, I can't see the need for you to go about financially immigrating, except if you've got retirement annuities in South Africa that you want to get out. What would the average amount of SA rands to bring when immigrating to keep afloat? What would be the average amount of South African rands to bring? I would say if you got 50,000 rand a month, that could probably just keep you afloat here. 50,000 rand a month while you are just arriving here is not a lot of money. It's maybe a lot of money in South Africa, but remember, we're getting a bit more, paid a bit more down this side. I just see Henry Rose ask about dental. Dental, guys, is very, very, very expensive. Okay, let's not go there. Can you see the grey hairs popping out if I just think about dental? I don't know where they get their prices. Nobody could ever explain that to me, where they get their prices. Whatever the price is in South Africa for extracting a tooth, times that by 10, and that's the dollar amount you're going to pay this side. The same with the dry keys that the kids need and so on. Paid out of your pocket, all the dental things. The kids' dental paid up to age 18, but it's only basic dentistry. It's like filling a tooth or withdrawing something. So that's about that. What else is there? What is the financial implications tax of keeping a house in South Africa and renting it out and not immigrating financially? The financial implications is that if you don't do that, SARS is you're not going to get your retirements out, and SARS is going to tax you on the income you get from your house. So basically very much the same as where you are now. They probably won't tax you on your New Zealand income, depending on how long you are on this side or how long you are in South Africa. Alright guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Went a bit over the time this morning. I said 30 minutes and you kept me busy for 42. So that's me. Have a brilliant... What's it today? So have a brilliant night there in South Africa, and stay safe. And my name is Viljoen from Tauranga. See you all.